Standing By, the Terry and Ted podcast, is sponsored by the UPS Store Canada.
Hi, Ted Bird.
How are you?
Hi, Ted Bird. That's not a good story.
Are you okay?
Hi, mister. Hi, mister. Just going into puberty as we start this week's edition of the Standing By podcast for a Wednesday. It's the 20th of May.
The 21st even.
It's the 21st of May. I'm all screwed up because we're recording on a Monday, which I absolutely hate. I don't know what it is. I think it's because my wife still works, so Mondays still feel like Mondays. I'm guessing for you, Mondays don't feel like Mondays anymore.
I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore.
Good.
Yeah. But it's Labor Day, not Labor Day, Victoria Day Monday, or Fête du Dollard, as they say in the local vernacular. Yeah. So traffic was a breeze getting to the studio.
Yeah, it was terrific. It's a beautiful, beautiful Victoria Day weekend. It was 4 and dark when I left this morning. What a lovely long weekend.
This spring has felt like fall.
Yeah.
If I didn't know any better, I would think that this spring was fall because it's been cold and rainy. It's felt like October and November more than it's felt like April and May.
The experts, whoever they are, say that the weather calendars kind of move forward so that May really presents more like April from when we were kids. And now summer lasts well into September.
So is it all part of the impending ecological apocalypse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all, we're going to die soon. So enjoy it. 4 and dark is fine. I'll take it. We want to say thanks to our good friends at the UPS Store Canada, the upsstore.ca. I was, again, looking at their website this morning, and one thing that I wanted to mention is if you have a small business and you're looking to print things, this happens a number of times in our house over the course of the years. They have printing services that'll bring you business cards, flyers and brochures. They can do manuals. They can help you with your presentations. They can do menus and forms for different things in your business. Menus, of course, if you run a restaurant. Online printing services, personalized calendars for customers, postcards, invitations, posters, banners, all kinds of different things if you run a small business. The folks at the UPS Store can help you. There's 400 locations across the country. All you have to do is go to the upsstore.ca. They have been our title sponsor for a couple of years now, and you'll find a location near you, and in that location, you're going to find an entrepreneur just like yourself, or if you're just doing something for like moving, there's, as we record this, moving is around the corner. A lot of people in Montreal move in the month of July, extra boxes, tape, all of that stuff. They know what's going on in their neighborhood because they're from your neighborhood. Like I said, 400 locations across the country from coast to coast to coast. You can start at the upsstore.ca.
You have a lot of notes there on your legal pad.
Well, it was a busy week.
Counselor, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. First of all, I wanted to say that I was out and about so much this week, and I noticed something that I'd forgotten about, because when we moved back to Quebec, we moved back in July. So when I arrived last year, 2 things. The weather was nice. The pool was open, and the detours were already set up. So this year, I got to see the arrival of the new detours. Everywhere I went, Jean Talon, Verdun, Westmount, downtown, the Met, there's all kinds of new flashing arrows and orange signs all across the island. I don't think I'll ever drive on Jean Talon again. I made the mistake of turning right off of Descaries onto Jean Talon last week and got stuck in a traffic jam like I haven't been stuck in for a very long time.
And it was all construction related?
All construction.
And was this at night when you were going home from wherever you were going home from? Because didn't you get stuck in a traffic jam at like close to midnight?
Yeah, it was 11:30 and the Met was closed.
Nice.
So that was nice.
Good thinking.
And of course, there was lots of warning that the Met was closed.
Fermé.
Yeah, you get to the exit.
Yeah.
Fermé, detour. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that. Jean Talon is being pulled up because, surprise, surprise, we need a bus lane apparently on Jean Talon. They have to do the pipe work, and of course, the mayor never misses an opportunity to shrink a road and put a bus lane in and extend the construction period, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, and if you're in Verdun, you already know this, Verdun Avenue is closed. If you're from Verdun, you don't say Verdun Avenue. You say
Verdun? I didn't know
Verdun
that.
Avenue. Yeah, Verdunites know what I'm talking about.
I was on the bus the other day in Saint Laurent, and they had Côte Vertu closed at Cavendish because that's not a busy intersection.
No, you don't need that.
Middle of the day.
Yeah.
And so the bus had to do a detour.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Boop, 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 all the way up to Timmins.
Yep.
And then back down to Kerry again.
That's a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not something we're unfamiliar with.
No.
Eh? That's...
Plus ça change.
Yeah, plus ça change. Anyway, got some Alan Parsons stories to tell you. Was it last week or the week before we had Alan Parsons on?
We had him on the week before, and the show was last week.
The show was last week. So Ted's got an Alan Parsons story for you. I have an Alan Parsons story for you. Alan Parsons was in town to do a show at Place des Arts. The show was a fundraiser for the Neuro Center here in Montreal. And there was a private event on Tuesday night that was at a donor's house. And Alan Parsons was at that event and was interviewed at that event and got asked questions by the audience, signed autographs, took some pictures, and was very, very kind to everybody. He's a very nice man. And we spent some time with Alan Parsons and a number of his band members. Very, very unique night, like a really, really cool night.
The meet and greet at the guy's house. I use the house is a relative term.
Yeah.
Pretty big house from what I understand.
A beautiful home. And that was in preparation for a couple of things. There was the concert the next night at Place des Arts. And one thing a lot of people don't know is Alan Parsons is working on an album that's going to be dedicated to people who have lost their lives to the scourge of brain cancer. And that's going to raise awareness, and it's also going to pay tribute to people like Neil Peart, Gord Downie. They're choosing songs, they're choosing vocalists, and Alan Parsons and his band are part of the project, and they're working on that project this week in Montreal. I think it's going to be a big deal. When the record comes out, I think it's going to be a very, very big deal. And then, and it's... I've got no details to tell you about the project, but when it does come out, we'll make sure we let you know. And I think it's going to be an emotional project. I also think it's going to be a real tribute to people who have lost their battle with brain cancer, and also bring awareness about the disease, just like they did on Wednesday night at the show, which you were at Place des Arts, Ted. I
brought my friend Denise to the show, and Denise was telling me that when she was in elementary school, and you and I were on, we must have been on Shom, I guess, back in the 80s, and Denise and her friend Libby used to tape record themselves doing a pretend radio show, pretending that they were Terry and Ted.
Loved it.
Yeah. So she sent Libby, who now lives in New Zealand, a note saying, "Hey, I'm going to the Alan Parsons Project show with Ted Bird." And so Libby had a fit in a good way.
Yes.
And Terry and I recorded at intermission video for Denise to send to Libby, and we were singing. Libby's name is Libby Lane, and so we were singing, "Libby Lane is in my ears and in my eyes." And so Libby sent Denise back a note saying, "Shut the front door, oh my God. This has literally been the highlight of my year. I watched that like 20 times. Do you know how much that meant to me? Of course you do. You're my best friend and kindred spirit. We have got to play them our tape. Okay, I'm crying now." And we said on the video, we said, "Okay, Libby, we're coming to visit. We'll be there. We're coming to stay with you in New Zealand. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong." And she said, "They can visit. I know they're joking, but they can come and visit and stay." Not joking, Libby. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong.
As soon as we scratch together the $13,000 for airfare,
we'll be on our way.
We'll be there. That was a really, really lovely compliment. Well, I say this all the time on the podcast. When somebody tells us that they have memories of us from their early days.
Yeah, like decades later, that meant a lot to her, which is very flattering to us.
It really is.
Thank you, Libby, and thank you, Denise.
And at the Alan Parsons show at Place des Arts, I was privileged to have been asked to start the festivities before the show. I was lucky enough to introduce Dr. Kevin Petrecka from the
neuro.
Yeah, the neuro. Dr. Petrecka is the associate professor in the Department of Neurology and Neurosurgery. He's the associate chair of neurosurgery of the Department of Neurology and Neurosurgery, and he's the chief of the Department of Neurosurgery at the McGill University Health Center.
Is that all he does?
And and I said, it's unbelievable when you think about the work that he does. And he was telling me how excited he was, not only to go on stage and tell the story, but that night raised $500,000 for the neurosurgery. So a tip of the cap to everybody involved, Rob Francis, the people at Peak Financial, our thanks to Lisa Lee for including us in the night, and to Dr. Kevin Petrecka and everybody at the neuro, tip of the cap to you. That was a really special week with Alan Parsons 2 nights in a row. It was really, really nice. So that's why we were saying we're really, really, it was a busy week. We were oot and aboot a lot. And there was a bunch of other things that went on this week. Jess dragged me to the theater this week. Yes.
To a matinee.
Yeah. And I was saying, we never go into Old Montreal because I think of it as, just a place for tourists. But man, it's beautiful, even with the construction.
I was going to ask you about construction in Old Montreal.
Yeah, it is. We were in Old Montreal Saturday afternoon because we went to the matinee at the Centaur Theater, and we managed to get some walking around in. Like Notre Dame, the cathedral, is covered on one side because it's under construction, and there are a number of streets that are closed and are under construction. We stopped in to see a cafe called Tommy that everybody keeps talking about. It's in Old Montreal. It's a terrific spot.
New or newish?
Yeah, fairly new. Peter from Baton Rouge on DeCarry opened this place up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, remember Peter?
Yeah, sure, of course.
I walked in and he went, "Hey, Terry," and for a minute I didn't know who it was. But it's a really, if you're ever in Old Montreal, look for Tommy Cafe. It's absolutely terrific. It's quaint. It's a perfect, really, vraiment Montrealais kind of place to go.
Peter's Greek, is he not?
He is.
So does it have a Greek flavor as well, or is it just out and out?
It's out and out.
Montreal?
There's a lot of avocado.
Oh, is that right?
A lot of avocado toast.
Avocado's big with the hipsters.
It sure is. It was a really, really fun stop. And we went to see what I've been told is a very famous, my wife is a theater graduate. That's what she studied in school. And one of her favorite plays is by a Quebec playwright, very famous Quebec playwright named Michel Tremblay. And the play is called For the Pleasure of Seeing Her Again. It's the translation of Encore une fois, si vous permettez. Very, very famous Quebec play, apparently. And we loved it. Ellen David and Emmanuel Schwartz were in it, and they were brilliant. Ellen David gives such a performance, and all I could think of was, how did she memorize all of this?
Yeah.
Like, how do you memorize all of these lines? And the Centaur is a real... It's such a source of pride for the English community. And live theater is really terrific. And it's not expensive. So I encourage you, if you'd like to try it, you should.
The theater?
Yeah, it's first of all, it's in one of the most beautiful buildings in Montreal. That building is it's the old stock exchange. Mm-hmm. It was the stock exchange in the early 1200s or whatever the date is.
Yeah.
And it's an absolutely beautiful building. And I know everybody thinks the theater is...
pretentious, snobby.
Yeah, but it isn't.
No.
It really isn't. And the folks at the Centaur do such a great job. It was really, 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 really fun. So like I said, it was a really busy week. We had a lot going on. I hope I'm not boring you with my stories.
No, not at all.
Okay, good.
Quite enjoying them.
Yes, quite.
Yes.
I said to Ted in a text, I went to the theater. And you said...
I don't remember what I said. That was days ago.
Yeah.
I said something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Want to talk about Sugar Sammy?
I do.
Speaking of the theater.
I do.
He'll be at Théâtre Maisonneuve. Mm-hmm. No, it's not Théâtre Maisonneuve. It's Théâtre Pierre Mercure.
Pierre Mercure.
Oui.
Yeah,
at
yeah.
UQAM.
Right.
He's doing a series of English-only shows for unilingual Anglophones. Or
Quel horror.
Yeah, as Sammy says, West Islanders, tourists, and Mark Carney. And one show is sold out. Saturday, June 21st, the early show, sold out.
Okay.
But there are other shows.
There you go.
Wednesday, June 18th, Thursday, June 19th. 2 shows, Friday, June 20th, and 2 shows Saturday, June 21st, and then 1 show on Sunday, the 22nd. The only one sold out is the early show on the Saturday. Tickets available for the rest, but they're going fast. So go to sugarsammy.com. It's an opportunity for, if you're a unilingual Anglophone or you're like me, where you've got the basics of French, but you need to live in Chicoutimi for 3 months and marry a 50-year-old stripper named Lulu in order to round out your French.
That's an interesting thought process. I want to learn French. First, let's meet Lulu.
But it's a great way to go and enjoy Sammy's comedy without having to struggle with the interpretation in your head if you're not proficient in the second language. Sugarsammy.com, Wednesday, June 18th through Sunday, June 22nd. Tickets still available.
All right. Sugarsammy.com.
Yes, sir?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm having dinner with Sugar Sammy.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, in a month.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's how busy he is.
Yeah.
So you have to put it.
Well, that's when those shows are. That's when he'll be in town. Is he even in town?
Well, yeah. That's how far out, like if I want to get together with him, I have to say, I'd love to have dinner with you. And then he's got to fit it in between, France and Gatineau and Edmonton and Seattle. And, he's doing pretty good, our pal.
Yep.
Yeah. Pantelis, how we doing? Okay?
We're doing great. We're doing great.
Just wanted to see if he was still. Our podfather is here today.
The executive producer is the producer today.
Yeah. Just want to make sure we hadn't put you to sleep yet.
No, I'm actually working on your podcast.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm adding some new camera angles. And
cool.
Doing some close-ups.
See, this is what happens when you have the boss here.
That's right.
That's excellent. I love that. I thought we would talk this week about. We talked about this on the phone. Probably didn't mean anything to you. The brouhaha about the Michelin stars. Were you following that story?
Well, I didn't know it was a brouhaha.
Well,
I followed it a little bit. It's a restaurant. It's the Michelin restaurant rating, and they came through Quebec, and apparently Quebec City restaurants did better than Montreal restaurants.
Yes, that's true.
From what I read,
yes.
and it's I know it's interesting and important if you're in the restaurant industry, but one thought that came to my mind was I wonder if people who are struggling to afford enough groceries to feed their family care about the Michelin restaurant rating system. And I don't say that to be cynical, or to poo-poo the Michelin. The Michelin restaurant ratings, but that thought did occur to me.
Yeah, and it's a good thought because it was a conversation I had with friends of mine. Ironically, we went to dinner on Thursday night at the Ritz. Now, before you go, oh, Mr. Fancy Pants. We go to the Ritz.
He wasn't wearing pants.
I wasn't wearing pants.
And he was asked to leave.
We went to Maison Bourud because it was something that we had planned way, way in advance with 2 friends of ours, Patrick and Lori, who are very, very busy. And we love them. We love having dinner with them. And that was a good meeting place for us both. And we thought, we'll make it a special occasion because we don't see each other enough. And we had a really wonderful meal at one of Montreal's best restaurants. It doesn't have a star. And we got onto this conversation about favorite restaurants.
You're talking about the Carry hot dog, right?
Exactly. I was just about to talk about that, Pantelis, that Ted and I were at B&M in NDG. It does not have a star.
Great pizza, though.
I think one of the best restaurants in Montreal, I don't think I know, is probably our favorite restaurant. It is our favorite restaurant. We're there all the time, is the Monkland Tavern. Barb and Josh at the Monkland Tavern have a restaurant that is not ridiculously expensive and has, cloth tablecloths and cloth napkins and a wonderful, attentive staff and a warmth and it's just a lovely, lovely evening out that does
a good dining experience.
Yeah, and it's in NDG on Monkland, in a place where you probably wouldn't go looking for a restaurant that's that caliber. I think the Monkland Tavern carries the same kind of excellence as a lot of these other places do. And a lot of these other places come with some pretension. For example, you cannot get a reservation at Sabayon. Sabayon, Mastard, and Europea are the three restaurants that got a Michelin star in Montreal. Those are the only three. So that leaves out a whole whack of, Touquet, Joe Beef, Liverpool, all the famous restaurants, Nora Gray, all of these restaurants you've heard about before, they didn't get a Michelin star. So I was curious about Sabayon. I thought, well, that's interesting. I wonder what they're all about, because they're in St. Henry. And that's the great thing about Montreal is you can find great restaurants in every corner of the city, like the Monkland Tavern in NDG. So I went on Sabayon's website, and two things. It's what's called a 14-seat micro restaurant. And they have a tasting menu, so you can't pick what you're going to have. It's whatever they're serving that night, that's what you're eating. And on the website, it says the menu is mainly composed of vegetables, fish, and seafood, sometimes a little bit of meat. We welcome 14 clients per evening. When you make your reservation, you have to pay in advance. It's $144 a person, including service. Meal starts at 7 and ends around 10.
Does the $144 include alcohol?
It does not.
So if you want a bottle of wine or a cocktail, that's extra.
On site, you can choose the wine pairing at $68 or make your choice from our wine list. And you have up to 5 days before the event to cancel. And they don't refer to it as a reservation. They refer to it as a ticket. And all the reservations for May were gone. All the reservations in June are gone. And then you have to go online on a certain time, and and there's a picture of the food there, which looks pretty fancy.
Looks pretty fancy, and it looks like there's not much.
Which is usually what happens at a fancy restaurant. Anyway,
here's your bean, monsieur.
I don't know anything about it, and I've never been to Sabayon, and it's one of the most highly respected restaurants in the country, and they're having an amazing run. They're doing extremely well. But to your point, I don't think many people, unless you're a real foodie, choose a restaurant according to whether or not it got a Michelin star, or what Michelin also says is a bib. They give Michelin bibs, which are recommendations for really good restaurants.
Right. Yeah. For $144, or with the wine over $200,
yeah,
I can buy quite a bit at Costco. Seriously, I can feed myself for.
Well, that's the point. The point I'm making is you're saying people who are finding it tough to get groceries done by the end of the month probably don't give a shit about Michelin stars.
No.
But it was a bit of a brouhaha in the restaurant community.
Right.
And I had a conversation with Barb and Josh at the Monkland Tavern on Saturday night. And they said, it's a high honor, but it also brings with it great deal of pressure.
No doubt.
Kind of pressure, I guess, if you're a Maple Leaf in Toronto.
Now, is it the same Michelin company that makes tires?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it started.
Where's that connection?
Well, the history of it is apparently when cars first arrived on the scene all those years ago, they started up a guide to show people if they were going to get in their Model T and drive, this was a good place to stop.
Oh, okay.
And that was a good place to stop.
So that was the tie-in.
Yeah, if you were driving to Toulouse, here are the restaurants that, this is a place to get gas. This is where hotels. That's apparently the way it started.
Sorry, I missed the segue. I missed your cue on the segue. You wanted to talk about the Leafs.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's I figure what I'll do is I'll use this opportunity to, because I saw Leslie Chesterman on Radio Canada talking about the Stars in Quebec City, the Stars in Montreal. And this past week, I just want to say congratulations to Leslie. She received the Order of Montreal, which is really, really a nice award for a lovely lady who was the Gazette Fine Dining critic for so many years and now a cookbook author. It's the favorite cookbook in our house with my wife, Jess. She was part of a cohort of 8 women selected by Mayor Plante, who received the honor in a ceremony last Friday. So tip of the cap to Leslie, and it was fun to see her on Radio Canada. And also, if you're a restaurant person and you want to read about this, Bill Brownstein did a really good piece in the Gazette.
That's where I read about it. I read
really,
Bill's piece. It was good.
Yeah, really, really great article and really
good insight into what that whole system is about and how it works.
Yeah, and a detailed explanation of how it works and the list of restaurants both in Quebec City and also in Toronto and Vancouver. So I thought we would mention that. How about the Leafs? How about that fiasco last night that we watched on
Sunday night, the Leafs lost Game 7 to the Florida Panthers after a huge win in Game 6. Like, they showed a lot of guts in Game 6. A win on the road with their backs to the wall. I thought, holy smokes, maybe they're finally over the hump. No. In typical Toronto Maple Leafian fashion.
Maple Leafian, I like that.
Yeah, they fucked the pooch in Game 7. And lost 6-1, and the fans were throwing shit on the ice, and the Hockey Night in Canada, Toronto-centric panel was near tears. And
I thought Chris Cuthbert was going to cry.
Chris Cuthbert, the play-by-play guy, whenever the Panthers scored, Florida scores. But what I found interesting was that even though the media was in mourning and the fans were beside themselves with both sadness and anger at being let down by the Leafs yet again, both Brad Marchand, who's probably the most important player on the Florida Panthers, and is a Leaf killer. He's 5-0 lifetime in Games 7 against the Leafs as a Bruin and a Florida Panther. So Brad Marchand and Florida's coach Paul Maurice both said, in Maurice's words, the Leafs don't deserve to be crucified. He said, this is a different team than years gone by. They played hard. They don't deserve the abuse that they're taking and will continue to take over the summer. And that spoke volumes to me, that Maurice and Marchand would both say that. It would be small consolation if I was a Leafs fan, which I'm not. And the reason I'm not is because I can't take the media coverage of the Leafs, and I can't take the bandwagon nature of Leaf fans. And I don't mean all Leaf fans. I have a lot of friends in Toronto who are diehard Leaf fans, but they're not bandwagon jumpers. Like, they're with them through thick and thin.
Yeah, but okay. This is one of the things I was going to ask you. I mentioned this last week on the podcast. I think it's ingrained in me. I just think, when I was a kid, there were 6 teams. We hated the Leafs.
Well, sure, Toronto, Montreal, forever rivals.
Yeah, forever rivals. And I can't do it. Even if they're the last Canadian team, blah, blah, blah. I can't do it. And I guess because I'm a Canadiens fan, I find a lot of the Leafs fans insufferable.
Yeah.
And the question I had for you about last night was, Jess and I were watching the last 13 minutes of the third period, and I said, look at the place emptying out. Like 13 minutes is a long time in a hockey game.
It was 5-1 at that point. That's when
it was 4-1 at one point.
Because at 5-1, that's when they started to leave en masse.
Yeah. And I was trying to think, Can you remember a playoff game where, the Habs fans at the Bell Center bailed like that and headed for the exits? I don't know. To me, you've said it before. Like Jess and I were having this conversation. Jess is a Manchester United fan. And Manchester United are like the Yankees of...
The New York Yankees are Montreal Canadiens of Premier League English soccer.
Some people would argue that point, but that's the history that they have. Meaning, they were a winning club for a very long time. And now for the last few years, they've been a losing club for a very long time. And it's tough to be a fan when the team just keeps shitting the bed. And a number of people have said to Jess, are you going to cheer for Liverpool now? And she said, no, that's not what you do. You're a fan through thick and thin.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if, I guess you've already answered my question because you used the phrase bandwagon jumpers.
Not that they're going to change teams, but that they go from burning their Mitch Marner jerseys after Game 5 to before Game 7. They're convinced they're on their way to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
And they love them again.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the second period, they hate them again.
Yeah. Must be awful to be a Leaf fan.
Seriously.
It must be just terrible. Do you think Marner stays? I don't.
I don't think so. No.
I think he leaves. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think if I was the Leafs, I would not re-sign him. I would say
saying
all the best. Good luck.
Before we started, I like Mitch Marner a lot. He's clever with the puck. He's elegant. He's a great playmaker. I just wonder if he's got the heart.
He disappears in the playoffs. Same with Austin Matthews. How about Ron McLean comparing Austin Matthews to Jean Beliveau just because he scored a goal?
Well, how about Austin Matthews saying in the postgame last night that we had a lot of passengers tonight?
Yeah.
And he had 2 shots.
Yeah, he was in first class. He was at the front of the bus.
And that's our look at sports. That's enough about the Leafs, isn't it?
Oh, that's more than enough about the Leafs. Yeah.
No, it isn't.
Okay. What do we got here?
Fans convinced Drake to bet $1.25 million on the Maple Leafs.
And guess what he did with that money? Tanked it.
Did he really?
Yeah,
Is that a true story?
Yeah, he put the bet in. He screenshot it. He's like, I'm excited. He put the money down on stake. And then,
holy shit.
His economic advisor is like, what are you doing? And everything he bets on, he's famous for it. He loses. So when this bet came in, a lot of Leafs fans were like, we're screwed.
No.
Oh, no. So he's a notorious gambler?
He's a notorious gambler, but he's notoriously unlucky.
Yeah.
He could bet on that there's going to be a sexual assault victim in an Indian train, and no one's going to get assaulted. It is crazy.
Maybe he should bet. In the interest of public security, he
wild.
should place that bet.
I hope he managed his money better than Justin Bieber. Did you read these stories this week?
No, what happened to Bieber? I love little Bieber.
Justin Bieber sold his catalog for $200 million.
That's it?
Yes. Against his manager's advice because apparently he's broke.
Well,
excuse me.
He doesn't look good. He doesn't look healthy.
No, and it's really, really sad because he's terrifically talented and apparently a really nice kid. But
you got involved with those Baldwins.
Yeah, and too famous too early.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, 100%.
When you get famous when you're a kid.
Yeah, I think there are substance abuse issues there.
Probably.
Yeah. It sure looks that way to look at him.
Yeah.
He's there's nothing to him.
No.
He's skinny, sunken cheeks. He's got that classic.
It's really.
look.
I find it really sad. Right now, I'll talk about this at the end of the podcast when I talk about what we've been watching. But right now, there's a documentary on the Carter family. Nick Carter from the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, I saw something about that on social
and
media.
Aaron Carter, and
it's just a shit show. Apparently,
it's a cautionary tale about
fame and fortune.
Fame and fortune at 11 years old, not good. Really not good. Think about an 11-year-old kid. You got the brain the size of a pea, and all you want to do is play and have fun, and you You're under multi-million-dollar
You
pressure.
need to be insulated by grown-ups who have your best interests at heart.
Yeah, and when there's money around, most grown-ups don't have your best interests at heart. Shall we say a good day and good broadcasting to our friends at the Richer Jewelers
We should.
establishment?
We're going to be there on June 7th.
Want
for
you to
meet
make
and
a note
greet.
of this.
Yeah.
June 7th is a Saturday.
Terry and I will be there for a meet and greet as Robert Richer Jewelers clear out excess inventory. They've got 2 official shitloads of diamonds.
Yes.
So they need to unload those.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. They have diamonds, that's for sure, but they have all kinds of excess. Or is it excess? What's the expression in the business world? Surplus inventory.
Surplus. Yes.
That they're looking to unload, so you can get some jewelry at good prices. I was thinking the other day, this is the time of the year when you might want to buy a graduation gift for someone, a son or a daughter, grandson, granddaughter. Robert Richer Jewelers would be the perfect place to do that.
I've said before, when I was a kid, and even as I was a young adult, I was always intimidated by jewelry stores because I thought I didn't belong there because you needed hundreds of thousands of dollars to go there. That's not true, obviously.
I got a ski mask and it was no problem.
And we had we've had so many occasions to go into Robert Richer Jewelers and the welcome you get. And I've been lucky because I've been in there when podcast listeners have arrived and said, "Hey, Terry," and it feels like a setup, but it isn't. You get a really, really warm welcome. And whether or not you're buying something really big for a really big occasion, you know, a lot of people go in and get landmark pieces for 25th anniversaries or 50th wedding anniversaries, that kind of thing. But as Ted says, you want to get a necklace for your niece for a graduation gift or a birthday gift or whatever, they can accommodate all of those requests, and they design some really beautiful stuff.
They reset and cleaned up my friend Zach's grandmother's diamond ring, his late grandmother's diamond ring that Zach gave to his fiancée Amber as an engagement ring. And Zach said they did an absolutely fantastic job. Amber had originally thought, maybe I'm going to redesign it. But when she saw the job they did just in cleaning it up and restoring it, she said, perfect. You can't make that any better. Yeah. So that's something else that they do. If you have old jewelry that needs to be redesigned, refashioned, restored, I guess is the best word. They do that. And if you're like Terry and you have watches that need to be fixed or need new batteries, you drop them off in 1964.
Yep.
And
just tell them you're coming to get them soon.
Yeah.
They'll take care. Actually, I think I'm going to go see them Wednesday.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Let me know if you do, and I'll come by with you. And that's when we'll finalize plans for the meet and greet at Robert Richer Jewelers. They're at 309 Dorval Avenue in Dorval, across from the Oppenheimer.
Right, and that's where you can park.
Yep.
In the Oppenheimer Plaza.
That's right.
Yeah. It's in Dorval. What's it called?
It's the Dorval Plaza.
Yeah, it's Dorval Gardens.
It's the Dorval Mall.
Yeah.
I think it is Dorval Gardens, but
yeah.
I think everyone just knows it as the Dorval Mall.
What did you think of our trip up to the much talked about Merci la Vie?
Loved it.
Merci la Vie.
Yeah, I ate more bread in 40 minutes than I have in the last year because I don't eat bread.
I didn't realize this. Since I've moved back, even when I was flying in from British Columbia to do the podcast, I didn't believe you didn't eat bread. No. How could you not eat bread? We're Quebecers.
I know, but I just, I don't know why I stopped eating bread. I just thought to myself, the bread is... It's
delicious.
I know it's delicious, but, I just thought, okay, if I'm going to cut something out, for weight
carbs
maintenance or whatever, carbs, I can live without it.
But you swim and you run and you bend and you
I don't run.
You go and you run up the hill.
I walk up the hill.
That hill.
No, I'm walking up that hill.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Baie-d'Urf.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I used to have bread in the house all the time, but it's probably been close to 2 years now.
I guess because I'm Italian. Pantelis, you agree?
Could be.
Can you can't, do you?
I cut off bread.
You did too,
That's what helped me lose weight, and it was agony because I'm Greek. I eat bread with bread sometimes. I have been known to take bread and then surround my potatoes with it, and then eat the potatoes with the bread.
When I went to Tommy Cafe on the weekend in Old Montreal, we were talking about, Jess said, "What do you have?" And I said, "I think I'm going to have a bagel with home fries."
It's so good.
So stupid.
So I had to cut it all off. That's how I lost all this weight. It was mostly the carbs and the sugar.
Wow, really, eh? So are you off bread complètement?
No, now I eat from time to time. I had some potatoes yesterday. I'll have some good bread if available. I just watch it now after all that weight loss.
See, I have potatoes every day.
You do, eh?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll slice them, bake them in the oven, and then dip the slices in mayonnaise.
Yeah.
So if I was doing that and bread,
I'm not gonna lie,
delicious.
my pants got shorter.
Well, I'm the fatso in the room, so I said to Ted, I cannot live. I couldn't cut it out.
Yeah, but none of us is as heavy as we used to be.
No, God, no.
Yeah.
No. And by the way, I didn't order the breakfast potatoes. I had a bagel and a cup of coffee.
Was the loaf of bread that you got at Merci La Vie, was it good?
Yeah. Was it good? Oh my God. It also looked beautiful. We were up there. I should tell the story. A long time friend of ours, John Moore, John Marr, who is now the proprietor behind a guitar company called Mackenzie and Marr. They make these beautiful, beautiful guitars. And we wanted to get together and talk about the possibility of maybe Mackenzie and Marr becoming a sponsor of the podcast next season. There will be a next season, won't there, Pantelis?
You're goddamn right.
And he said, I wanted to take you to this place called Merci La Vie, which is in Prévost in the Laurentians.
Prévost or Piedmont?
Prévost.
Okay.
I think it's Prévost. Now I'm going to have to look it up.
Anyway, it's between Saint-Sauveur and Saint Adèle.
And
or is it?
It happened to be a beautiful day.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up to make sure I get it right. Merci. You're right.
Piedmont, yeah. Maybe it's before Saint-Sauveur, is it?
Yeah.
A little bit before.
Anyway, it's up there.
Yeah.
It's up in the Laurentians. It was closer to where we live. A bit of a drive for John, a bit of a drive for you, but you said you had a nice time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I drove up with John. John did the driving. Yeah.
And you ate bread that day.
I sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said you had yearly.
Yeah, my yearly allotment. I don't know what I ate exactly. I don't know what that thing. You ate the same thing as me for a main course.
Yeah, I had
was
some. I couldn't make head nor tails of the
menu. No, but it was delicious.
Yeah, the menu had all kinds of.
It looked like a cinnamon bun. It wasn't a cinnamon bun, but it kind of had the same shape. And in between there was egg and salami, and it was absolutely delicious. And then I had a blueberry tart for dessert.
Right. Yeah, that was delicious because I had the apple one.
Yeah,
and Jess was saying the bread looked so beautiful, and it was a beautiful presentation of the loaf of bread. She said that's a good going over to somebody's house gift. You know what I mean? It's a good idea. You go to a nice bakery, you get a nice
bring a really nice loaf of bread. Yeah.
There you go. There's
nicely
done. Pantelis, we're not used to having this kind of engagement from our producers. This is very exciting.
It's a great show.
Thank you.
It's a great show, so I want to add what I can.
Yes.
Oh, it looks so good.
Doesn't that look good? If
so
you're
that's
watching
the sort
on
of
YouTube,
loaf that you brought back from,
and
see, I would eat that all at once.
Yeah.
That's another reason I don't eat bread anymore. I would eat that all at once, and I would slather butter on every slice.
Yeah,
and when I walk by a bakery now, I'm like a recovering alcoholic walking by a bar. I smell the smell wafts out, and I stop and I go, well, maybe I could just have one loaf.
If you're watching on YouTube, Pantelis brought up a picture of the product at Merci La Vie. And I looked up at it online to see where it exactly was. And it says it's closed today because of National Patriots Day.
Victoria Day in Quebec is Patriots Day.
Is that what
I thought it was
now?
I thought it was Fête du Dollar. Does that sound right?
No, it's Fête des Patriotes now?
Yeah, Fête des Patriotes. I figured out today as well because I was confused about why we even celebrate Victoria Day here, since Victoria Day would be about the Queen.
Right.
Yeah.
And they hate the monarchy. I hate the monarchy too. Yeah. And then I realized today everyone was sharing Fête des Patriotes, Fête des Patriotes. So that's what it's turned here. It's Patriots Day. The rest of Canada, it's Victoria Day.
Right.
Yeah. The Quebec Patriots, and then the rest is the monarchy, which is weird because most people don't even like the monarchy.
This is really weird, and we will stop talking about this as soon as I say this. When I hear the word patriote, I think
The football team.
No, I think of the
guy with the long rifle
that was on the FLQ communiques during the
That's what it is. I saw Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon Instagram. It had that old guy with the thing.
It riles me. I know it's not supposed to, but it riles me up because I remember.
You are correct. I'm looking at it right now.
All right. Yeah, it's that picture of the guy with the pipe and the gun, and he was the patriote. There he is.
That guy, yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, Pantelis has brought it up. And that was monogrammed or printed on the communiques from the FLQ after they kidnapped James Cross and Pierre Laporte. And as a kid, I think I was 12 years old during the Quebec, the FLQ crisis.
Yeah, you would have been 1970.
Yeah. And there was a Jeep at the top of our street with a machine gun in the back. And
an Army Jeep.
Yeah, Army Jeep. Yeah, the Army was on the street. So it riles my memory. It's not a good memory.
You're
for
triggered,
me.
man.
Just the imagery makes you think of all that.
It triggers me from back then, and I'm not a big patriote fan.
What happened during that time? You saw the communiques like they were giving them as pamphlets?
Because it was on TV, and they were sending all the communiques to the back in the day when that's where you got your news was television and radio, and the TV people would put up a picture of the latest communique from the latest cell of the FLQ. And they were all printed on a piece of paper with that patriot in the background.
I should know this, and I'm good at history. I don't know why. I remember what started it. What started just that snap to become that upright? Was there a reason? Was there an event, or it was
a culmination.
Yeah,
it started with the Quiet Revolution, and it was just political tension that built and built and built over the years.
And there was a wing of people who wanted a separate country who thought violence was the way to do it. And it built, and that the FLQ were the people that were meeting and suggesting that they do violent things in order to achieve their goals. And they started with the kidnapping and then the murder of Mr. Laporte. And
Pierre Laporte was murdered.
That's right.
Yeah,
he was. Yeah. And
do you need a safe space now?
No, I'm not going to cry or anything. I'm just saying it's. I will not be referring to it as.
Patriot.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I'm going to go the long holiday weekend in Quebec.
But it's still Victoria Day in the rest of Canada.
Yeah,
right?
it is. Yeah.
But when I think Victoria, I don't even think about the Queen Victoria. Like I don't even.
Listen, I always think about. Hey, it's the long weekend.
Yeah.
I never think about. It's Fête Nationale or it's August. In out west it's August long. They call it August long. The first of August is a long weekend in the rest of the country.
Yeah, the association I make more than anything is fireworks.
Yeah.
We used to do fireworks in Victoria. Yeah. You kids try not to blow your fingers off with those fireworks.
Well, those aren't allowed anymore because,
somebody might get hurt.
Well, no, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough of that.
Yes, sir.
But it was a good topic.
It is a good topic because it's current. Depending on when you're listening to the podcast. And if you're listening while you're driving, we don't mean to drive you off the road. It's just something that we thought was appropriate. And like I said, I'm kind of thrown off because we have Pantelis he's really doing the producing thing today.
Yeah, he sure is.
Which is very paying attention and everything. It's very exciting, Pantelis.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
This is a good show.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, I like listening to it live.
Thank you very much.
That's how it's made.
I appreciate that. I wanted to quickly say hello to a couple of folks. I want to say thanks to Paul Cochran at the Fairfield Suites in Dorval. Remember where I used to stay when I
used to fly in for the podcast when you still lived in Vancouver. That's where you would stay.
Yeah, Paul has done Jess and I a favor because we have an early morning flight on Wednesday, so travel arrangements made by our good friends at the Fairfield.
Travel accommodations furnished by the Fairfield Inn and Suites.
Thank
Dorval.
you, Paul. And this is not a commercial and it's not an endorsement, but on Saturday. Jess came with me to MH Grover and Sons in Verdun. Now, MH Grover and Sons has been there for 100 years on Wellington. And MH Grover and Sons, when you hear that name, people go, "Oh, that's the fat place." That's where fatties go to shop.
I was going to say for big and tall men.
Well, their slogan is not, that's where fatties come to shop.
It should be, though.
And I was in there.
We might have something that fits you.
Yeah. I was in there on Saturday, and I used to be a lot heavier. You will attest to this.
Yeah.
I'm not a thin man. I've never been a thin man. I'm not ever going to be a thin man.
Don't say that. You could be a thin man.
Pantelis has lost a lot of weight.
Yeah. I know it's possible, so I can get you on this
but
regimen.
I can't live like that. I figure I'm 67. What have I got? 10 years maybe?
Well, modern medicine.
You got 20 years easy.
Okay,
Yeah.
And
so
you don't look. Did you say 67?
I'm 67.
Yeah.
God damn.
But he's a healthy
Yeah.
60. He's
Yeah,
a healthy
I wouldn't have guessed
67.
it.
Yeah.
And I'm a guy.
you.
Thank you. That's very kind. I'm a guy who could stand to lose 20 pounds for sure. I think at one point when I came back from Calgary, I was a guy who weighed like too little for my frame. I looked thin and I looked unwell. People asked me if I was.
And how much weight had you lost?
I had lost 106 pounds.
You lost a lot of weight too, Pantelis.
Yeah.
Did anyone ever ask you, "Hey, man, are you okay?"
Yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah.
One of the, Nick Drossos, the trainer.
Yeah.
I kept arguing with him for weeks. He kept telling me, like, "No, for real, what are you doing? You on that?" Because he hadn't seen me in a long time. Did you take Ozempic? You doing any drugs? And I kept telling him, I literally stopped eating sugar and bread. And he wouldn't believe me. And he's a fitness trainer. He's like, no, tell me the truth.
Yeah, and I don't want to go on and on about it because, it's a topic that's really personal for people. There's a lot of people that struggle with their weight. I've struggled with my weight all my life. And I know because I did it. I went to a diet clinic in Calgary and I lost 113 pounds, I think.
By changing your eating habits.
Well, no, by weighing every single thing that I ate, and I ate like a prisoner. Like they had me weighing my lettuce.
What?
It's a diet clinic that is not allowed to operate in Quebec, to give you an idea of how severe it is.
They only do it in English.
And in Alberta, I was a client of theirs, and to their credit, it worked. Because what you learn, and you know this, Pantelis, if you limit what you put in your pie hole, you're going to lose weight.
Yep.
And you have to decide, that's it. I'm only going to eat salmon and lettuce and celery and all the other things that I know are good for you. That's what you do, and you move, and the weight comes off.
Yeah, it's just you wait 2 or 3 weeks, you start noticing the difference, and then you're motivated.
Yeah.
But I eat
you
like
get
an
momentum.
Animal.
Yes.
Yeah, I eat like an animal. I got to tell you guys, but it was a lot of meats and veggies. I would eat all kinds, but I would have a window, so I would have 4 to 6 hours in the day where I would eat. The rest was fasting. But I would drink coffee during that time, anything I wanted. But eat, I would have a window too. So I would intermittent fast.
Yeah.
Zero sugar, by the way. The bad sugars, zero.
Yeah. So no sugar at all.
No candy, no nut. I avoided everything for 2 years.
Yeah. And I've had that conversation with myself, and I think about, what I think about all the time? This is going to sound insane, but this is what I think about all the time. When I read about a guy who's died, a guy who dropped dead, guys our age, 66, 68.
Guys younger than us.
55.
Yeah.
And I think, oh my God, that's so awful. And I feel terrible for the family. And, I wonder what it is that took him. And then I think, wonder what his last meal was. I know that sounds...
It's not a bad thought.
Not ridiculous, but I think to myself, I wonder if his last meal was celery sticks.
I hope not.
I hope not too.
And now that you mention it, that's a nice gesture to condemned prisoners, eh?
Yes, it is. It is.
What do you want?
Yeah, because when you think about it, I remember going in leading up to my open heart surgery and thinking to myself, one of my favorite things in the world is a BLT. And I don't know if I'm coming out of this, so I'm having a BLT. Well, maybe
That's actually such a good thought, because I think about that when I leave the house sometimes. Did I say my goodbyes? Did I say the I love you?
Yes.
Just in case. Because you see it you see it a few weeks ago where there's kids, they're driving on the weekend, they get hit by a car, or and these are young people who have their whole lives ahead of them. You never know. You just never know when it's going to end for you.
And I'm the same way. I never leave the house without kissing my wife goodbye.
Yelling the N-word. You got to let them know that you're around.
I never leave the house without kissing Terry's wife goodbye either.
That sounds like I never leave the house without yelling the N-word. I want them to know that I was there. No, but it's it's a smart thought because a lot of people don't give it.
It's a weird thing, and my point is, every once in a while, and you know this, Pantelis, because I think you've gone back on that track. Every once in a while, you have to have a treat. Like when you and I went to B&M, and then we took a picture at Homer's Donuts. Yeah. There was a number of people who said to me, Terry, your heart surgery, that was a once in a while treat.
How I've seen Homer's Donuts. It looks so nice with the neon. Is it good?
They're fucking delicious.
Yeah, and they're the size of curling stones.
And,
oh my!
Yeah,
but you know when you can taste something that's been made fresh with fresh ingredients, and it hasn't been brought by a truck from Ajax to put in the oven, that they can fling at you through the drive-through window. This is a donut that's been made in the back. You can smell it when you come in. And all of them are fresh. The day that we went, they were warm.
I will go try it.
Right out of the oven.
Oh,
I haven't had the last donut I had was at an Indian restaurant, Tim Hortons, and it wasn't that good. But so I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, you should. It's worth the trip.
Amazing local place that does everything they do with pride. Really, really terrific.
I saw a couple of them. There's one in Laval. I saw one in St. Catherine.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
I think they're expanding. And I hope they're not expanding, and I hope they don't take their eye off the ball. You know what I mean?
Anyway, MH Grover.
So anyway, what I wanted to say was, MH Grover is a place that I can shop comfortably as a man who's a bigger man, and I'm not. I wear a 1X shirt, so. When I'm looking for a nice, collared shirt with, a nice pair of pants, and a lot of times if you're a bigger guy, if you've got big shoulders like I do, if you have no neck like I do, the MH Grover and Sons have been doing this for a very, very long time. And Ken and his son Jacob, it's a family-run business. They've been there for a very long time. And we were in there on Saturday, and Jess was there helping me pick out things that didn't make me look dumb, which I always appreciate. When you go shopping with your wife, she can steer you away from the goofy stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I wanted to mention it because if you struggle with your weight or you're a bigger size and you've never been into that store, you should go because they don't sell junk. They sell nice stuff that isn't super expensive, and they're really, really thoughtful. They don't go, oh, you should, that's, sit down, fatso. You know what I mean? There's like, like Ken looks at me and says, I think you that shirt you have on is too baggy. You should go down a size and let me go get you another one. Anyway, it's
not here's a tarp.
Yeah. And
try this moo-moo.
It can be really uncomfortable for people who go shopping in department stores. And if you've never been, they're just terrific, and they've been in the same place for 1,000 years.
It looks nice. It's like
on
a quality
Wellington
place
in Verdun. Yeah. They're lovely people. It's not a national chain. It's been sitting in that place for I think over 70 years. They're just terrific.
It's nice to have that service too, Because you're not going to get that at Costco.
No,
you're going to get a good deal. No, seriously, you're going to get a good deal on a Calvin Klein shirt, but you're not going to know till you get home if it fits.
Yeah, and they're they've got people who know what they're doing and say, no, not those ones, these ones. Let me help you with that. Here's the changing. It's just a really nice experience because if you're, like I said, I understand if you're a bigger guy, and even if you're not a bigger guy, they have regular size stuff. It's just it's a nice local place to go. And I just wanted to say thanks to Ken and Jacob for being so kind to me on Saturday. Okay, so we've covered diet and fashion and restaurants and donuts.
All the things we're experts on.
Yeah. We should do the tweet sheet.
Do you want to do that now?
All right, you think we're doing
good.
it too soon?
Not
or
at all. Not
okay.
one bit. It's
All right.
never too soon for the tweet sheet.
That's true.
The funny from Twitter this week, which I usually curate with Terry in mind, thinking, he'll find this one funny. Mm-hmm. Let's start with from @rockandrollbard. Every French beach town has a little cafe called like Le Nautilus, and every American beach town has a little cafe called Scratchy Dick's Big Slut Crab Fuck Shack.
I confirm.
I think I was at Scratchy Dick's in Delaware several summers ago.
Old Orchard Beach, maybe? Okay.
Sweep on next.
Next one, we've
Here we
got
go.
this bad boy.
From @OKSheesh. Not only did I wave back, but I yelled, "Hey, how are you?" to the guy waving at the person behind me.
You got to feel for them.
Been there.
Isn't that a great visual?
Yeah, it is.
And from @SimonC Holland. I didn't realize I was supposed to know how to do everything by my second rodeo. That's still a very low number of rodeos.
That's the tweet sheet. Ted finds the funny on X. We'll never call it X. It's the tweet sheet. Last week, before I forget, I told you a story about piscine fibro and how
The difficulties you were having.
I was having so much difficulty with this company in Laval. And lo and behold, our good friend Jerry Riley happens to know the owners of Piscine Fibro in Laval. And he reached out to them and said, Terry's not getting any help, any response. Nobody's answering his emails, et cetera, et cetera. And they came riding to the rescue. And they were deeply apologetic. Something got lost in files.
Something fell through the cracks?
Yeah, something fell through the cracks, exactly, Ted. And they were deeply apologetic. They were horrified. And my wife got a call from them today, and they just couldn't have been nicer and more apologetic. And shit happens. That happens at places. Something fell through the cracks, and our problem has been addressed. So, Jerry, thanks for intervening on our behalf, and thanks to my to the people at Piscine Fibro for saying we're really sorry about all of this. So thanks for addressing that. We appreciate that.
Glad it had a happy ending.
Yeah, it did have a happy ending.
Yeah. I spoke to the Mersons this week.
Yes, sir.
I spoke to Kara and Celso. I had an issue with my car after I got my summer tires installed. The back of my car was squeaking. And so I called Celso and I said, something's squeaking in the back of my car. And he said, probably dry bushings. He says at the end of April, when we get into May and the rush stops, bring it in. And the squeaking stopped, and I guess that was temperature related. And Celso said, yeah, he says probably, it's probably exactly that. It's he explained it to me in mechanical terms that went over my head.
It's better than saying, I've got this squeak, and they take it for a drive, and they can't hear the squeak.
Exactly, yeah. Anyway, he said, bring it in if you want. We'll check it out. And I said, what do you want us to talk about? Now that the rush is over for summer tires, what should we talk about? And he said, talk about getting your car road trip ready for the summertime, because he said there are going to be more people than normal taking road trips this summer in their cars because they're going to be staying in the country. They're not going to the States. Yeah. And he rattled off a whole list of things that you should have checked out before you take a road trip. And of course, they went in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
But he made an excellent point that a lot more people than normal probably are going to be doing that this year. So call Merson, go down, have them do a full inspection on your car to make sure they know what to check. I don't, but they know to make sure that you're ready for a road trip, because you don't want to get out in the middle of the woods and have your car break down and get eaten by bears. There's nothing worse.
Just even being on the highway. Like, remember my story from a few months ago? My car broke down on the highway.
Yes, yeah.
Just terrifying.
Yeah.
To be on the highway in a car that won't go in a lane that you shouldn't be in.
Yeah.
It was absolutely terrifying. And if you're like me, you just get in your car and you expect it to run.
Well, yeah, I normally don't get in and fear the worst of what's going to happen this time.
No, but it's quite a surprise. I don't drive an old car.
Yeah.
So when you get in and it stops running, you think, oh my God, this is out of left field.
Yeah.
So it's a great idea, especially if you're going a long distance.
Call the Mersons, 514-487-5545. Go see them on St. Jacques, just west of Cavendish. Visit them online at mercenauto.com. And don't forget, if you have not changed from winter to summer tires yet, up until May 31st, they have rebates on select Yokohama tires of up to $125. mercenauto.com.
Let's talk about some of the things we're watching, because I'm very excited that you subscribe to Paramount Plus. How far did you get into Mobland?
I watched, in one day alone, I watched 3 episodes of Mobland.
Yes.
The opening episode of Landman.
Yes.
I'm going back to Mobland, though. As good as Landman is, Mobland is...
Mobland is...
Yeah, it's just off the charts.
Yeah.
I also found time to watch the hockey game.
Yes.
Eat soup and crackers and have a nap. It was a very busy day.
Well, it's a perfect day for the shit weather we've been having.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
that's the
This
perfect
was
day.
on Sunday, and it was a shite day.
So
it
you're
was
3 episodes into Mobland. So
Yeah.
what happened in... where are you?
they have... they found the kid's body,
Okay.
and the guy who killed him, they took him back to Richie Stevenson.
Okay.
And that's where I'm at
Okay.
now, basically.
All right.
The guy's still alive.
Yeah.
Who killed the kid, but I
Yeah.
don't know how much longer.
The thing that we dislike about Mobland, it's our favorite new show. The thing that we hate about it is you only get 1 episode on Sunday night, and then you have to wait the week.
Yeah, well, that's why I waited until to subscribe
Yeah.
until there were a few episodes stacked up so that I could binge it a little bit.
It's so
Yeah, it
good.
really
It's
is,
so
yeah.
well done.
Yeah.
It's a Guy Ritchie production. 2 Snakes, Guns, and Automobiles. What was that movie called?
There was Snatch,
Right.
and Lock, Stock, and Two
Thank you.
Smoking Barrels. Yeah,
If
among
you-
other Guy
yeah,
Ritchie
he's
movies.
done all kinds of great
The Gentleman, I
stuff.
think, was the name of
Yeah.
another Guy Ritchie movie that was absolutely fantastic.
He's the mastermind behind Mobland, and it's Pierce Brosnan and Helen Mirren and Tom Hardy, and it's so good. And the episode we watched last night,
Don't tell me what happened.
no, I won't.
Does everybody die?
No, I'm just going to tell you, Jess and I both jumped off the couch.
Really?
And went, what? What? Holy shit. Now, when a TV series can do that for you,
Yeah.
I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah.
But you have to have Paramount Plus.
Well, I reacted out loud in the first episode when Helen Mirren's character says to the guy named Archie, "Archie, you make a better ass licker than you do a traitor." And I thought, uh-oh. I guess this is the only episode Archie's going to be in. I even said out loud, uh-oh. Sitting there by myself, me and the cat, and I turned to the cat and went, uh-oh. Archie's had it.
Doesn't look good for Archie. Anyway, can't recommend it enough. I know I talk about it almost every week. And last week I talked about crime documentaries. Jess and I got hooked on one this week called A British Horror Story. Fred and Rose West, A British Horror Story. It's dark, and it's a story I didn't know happened. And you watch it and go, oh, God. But that's only if if you like the crime thing, the crime documentaries. That's on Netflix, and we like that. And I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I'm a documentary nut, and I love things that have to do with psychology and psychological effects and stuff like that. And The Carters is about Nick Carter and Aaron Carter. Nick Carter was with the Backstreet Boys. Aaron Carter, his little brother, unfortunately succumbed to his addictions and is no longer with us. But the story is a cautionary tale, as I was saying earlier in the podcast, of a family from Florida who they just got wrapped up in the money and the success and the fame, and it really did an unbelievable amount of damage to the family. Excuse me. And it's a documentary made by Soleil Fry Moon. She's a former child star herself, and she's now an actor, or she's now a film director and a documentary filmmaker. Excuse me. And she brings a really interesting perspective to it, and it's available also on Paramount Plus if that kind of thing interests you. Shall we tell people about Accutech? I was thinking of them yesterday with the electrical storm we had as we were driving home.
Did you have an electrical storm up north yesterday? Yeah?
We were driving home on Saturday after we went to the theater. We went to Monkland Tavern because we were in town, and we were driving home at about 11 o'clock at night. And the sky was lit up with lightning. And I said to Jess, I wonder if we're going to have power when we get home.
The greatest show on earth is always free.
Yeah, it
Mother
sure
Nature
is.
is the greatest show on earth, but she can do some damage.
Yeah, she sure can. And if she does, and if your electrical systems aren't up to date, you should think of the name Accutech. Accutech, ACUTECH.ca is where you'll find their website. And as we say every week, it could be a small thing or a big thing. I always joked about when you put toast in the toaster, if the lights go out, that's a bad sign. If you can't turn the TV on without the vacuum starting, that's a bad sign. If you have to plug in the lamp with a sketchy, extension cord with 3 other things plugged in, these are all bad signs, and it's time for a visit from the good people at Accutech. Accutech have been around since 1995. Tom's dad started this business, and now Tom and Trish run that place with the help of, I think, 8 other associates who are all over the island, on and off the island of Montreal during the week, taking care of businesses, taking care of homes, redoing electrical systems. If you've got one of those old post-World War II homes that haven't been updated in a while, they can do that for you. It's not the season for generators, but if you're thinking about that for next year, can do that.
This is one thing Trish told me. She said, people don't necessarily like to hear it, but in the spring, it's a good time to think about heating for the next winter season.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Get it done now. It's the same as the fashion industry. They're not talking about, behind the scenes, they're not talking spring 2025. They're looking at spring 2026.
Yeah. So if like I say, electrical things are not something that you think of, unless you have one of those problems I was talking about. You don't think about it all the time, but keep this name in mind. If somebody says to you, I need an electrician, I need somebody to come and look at the house, Accutech Electric, ACUTECH.ca.
C'est tout?
Je pense que c'est tout pour cette semaine, monsieur. Oui. I think we blathered on a lot about. Like I said at the start of the podcast, we had a busy week. We were social butterflies this week.
Yeah,
you were all dressed.
I went
nicely.
and saw Chris Nyland on was it Wednesday?
Yes.
Wednesday, I went down to where Chris is rehearsing for his one-man show that opens towards the end of this month.
Yeah,
that's going to be so good.
Yeah, I can't.
We
wait
had Chris
to see that.
and his director/producer Vittorio Rossi in several weeks ago talking about Chris's one-man show about his journey through addiction and recovery, and I had a really nice chat with him last week, and what a beautiful venue that is too.
Yeah.
I'd never been there before.
Wow, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you were at the Plaza des Arts show on Wednesday night, see Alan Parsons, I just want to say thanks to everybody who came up to us.
You got mobbed.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I was mobbed.
He was mobbed, and I went, "Hey, Terry DiMonte." Can I get a picture with you?
So many people were so nice and had so many nice things to say.
Well, it was a nice reception that you got, too. When you came out and introduced yourself, you got a really nice round of applause.
I got a really warm welcome.
4 years after your forced retirement, if I can be so bold as to say that publicly, because that's what it was. 4 years after you got pushed out to the door, I thought that was a nice little message from the audience.
Made my heart sing.
Yeah,
it was really, really nice. And there were some people, like I met a gentleman named Yvan who spoke to me in French and said some unbelievable things about my last week on the air. And I said to him, "You're going to have to stop because I'm going to cry. Like you're making me emotional." He was just, people were so kind. And I want you to know, I've said this on the podcast before. When you see us and approach us, number one, don't be afraid to say hello, and number two, don't be afraid to say what you want to say, because a lot of times people couch their comments by saying, "I know you've heard this before" or whatever, but it always makes my heart sing when people say the things that they do to us. The nice things, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our thanks to you for downloading the podcast. Don't forget to...
What do we tell people to do?
Subscribe.
I guess subscribe. And if you are listening to the podcast, as most people do on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, leave it a review, give it a 5 stars, and share it with your friends. Tell them, hey, radio ain't over. Listen to Standing By.
And subscribe to the Pantelis Comedy Network on YouTube as well.
For more of this garbage.
We are honored that our podfather, Pantelis, was producing this episode. Thanks for coming in on Les Jours de Patriote, Pantelis.
No problem. Anytime.
And thanks to you, Ted Bird.
Thank you, Terry DiMonte.
And good day to you, sir.
And to you.
We'll see you next week.
Yes, we will.
Standing By, the Terry and Ted podcast, has been brought to you by the UPS Store Canada, delivering more for small businesses in Canada.